Your consistency becomes your audience's habit. You're their news for the day or their value add that's applicable to their life.
Matt Gottesman is a 3-time founder, top-ranked podcaster, and globally recognized writer. He's the creator of The Niche Is You multimedia platform, and he's passionate about showing others how to build an authentic brand and a loyal online following that lasts.
Gone 100,000 in like 2 hours. Their wait lists are growing, even though they are having stagnation in figuring out the product. The rules of sales are like changing.
What's one thing people obsess over in business that actually does not matter at all?
Perfectionism. It's never perfect. Ship it, ship it, ship it, ship it. Working for yourself is the greatest freedom, but it's also the greatest responsibility and accountability and discipline you will ever have. Better be for the thing you want.
So Matt, you talk a lot about authenticity in social media. That's a term that I hear, that's a word I hear kind of floating loosely everywhere. But everybody says be authentic. But what does that actually mean to you?
You know, I find it ironic now because I've been talking about it for probably like 14, 15 years online.
Yeah, right.
And I didn't want it to be a trend. Mm-hmm. But that's obviously now it's like, oh yeah, so the new trend is, you know, be authentic. Right. And I'm like,
wait a minute, I've been saying that for a while.
I was like, well, no. I was like, the real forever lasting trend is be honest.
Yeah.
And be authentic. Like who are you really? What are you building in real time? Why does it mean something to you? What have you gone through? Who is like the fullness of you? And then people understand you. And so I was at a mastermind a while back teaching about like the niche is you concept. Cause you know, and this woman had asked, she's like, well, I'm in real estate. And I was told, you know, that's my niche. So I'm just going to promote just that. I was like, okay, I get it. And there's a room, like maybe 70, 80 entrepreneurs. I'm like, any other brokers in here?
Yeah.
And 5 of them raised their hand. I'm like, amazing. So you're all brokers. They're like, yeah. I'm like, who do I choose? And none of them really had an answer. And I was like, because I don't know you. And the issue is, I'm like, when I say the niche is you, I mean, go wide on allowing me to see how you think and how you have processed things and what you go through. And, you know, what are all their interests? How are they all, like, what's the through line with them?
Yeah.
Who are you?
Yeah.
Because then I can relate to you. And if I can relate to you, then I can trust you.
So it's that emotional connection.
Yeah, it's completely emotional.
Yeah.
You know, and relatability, right?
Yeah.
And so, which comes from that. And so, interestingly, she's like, I think I get, I'm like, when it comes to your specific interests, niche down and go deep because that's your specialty.
Well, I remember, you know, we trained, if you're familiar with like Ryan Serhant, you know, $1 Million List in New York. So we trained his reps for several years there, probably like about 2-3 years ago, several years. And look at his social media file. Look how much business he gets from his brand. Right. And he's just out there, you know, like, hey, today I'm here with my wife and we're doing X, Y, and Z or whatever. Nothing about real estate, but still he mixes in some of that, but he's also mixing in a lot of business. I think that's important to have a really good mixture there. Because I see some brands, all they're doing is just like, they're talking about their personal life and everything. And people are like, well, we don't care about that. Right. So it's got to be a good mix in my mind.
It is, you know, when you see somebody that's just, they're constantly talking about only their thing, like they're just selling.
Sure.
You don't have to, which I know, by the way, throws a lot of people off because they're like, what do you mean? Like, how does anybody know what my offers are? I'm like, they know. But they want to also know how you think and how you do things and how you move about the cabin and, you know, of life. And
what do you think is a good combo of that? So like, let's say, you know, we have a sales training company, obviously. So a lot of times, you know, we give out like, hey, if the prospect says this, you know, say this, or why does your prospect do this? It's because you're doing this. So we give out advice, right? Which is, you know, on Reels, it's more basic content because it's not like advanced training that's in courses, you know, that clients come through. But then there's also a side where you want to have some, you know, you're walking down the street with your kids and you're talking about just whatever, and it's kind of playful and fun. What do you think is a good mix there? Is it 50-50, 70-30? What's a good mix?
I do think it's an even spread across all the topics.
Okay.
But a through line that shows how you do things in general, right? So it's like maybe you're talking to your kid, but it's like your guys are working through something or talking about something in general. To me, that like shows me a character side of you that I'm like, he's going to take care of me in business. Yeah. Like, and when he talks about this thing over here. So it's how you do one thing is how you do everything, right? Is the famous quote.
Sure.
It's true. How you do anything is going to show me how the other things I'm going to trust myself, my business, my money with you, whatever it might be, because of how I'm watching you interact in a multitude of different ways. And so I think it can be even, but of course we do also want to see, what are the things that are lighting you up in the
you want to see
side.
you want to see some real life stuff. I mean, we typically, before, it was like 90% like just, sales, 10% other stuff. Now we're doing about 70-30. That seems like a good mix. 70% more about, hey, advice for salespeople, how to sell more, persuade more, influence more, and 30% more about just random things, It seems like it's a good mix that grows your account, I think, more, because you're reaching like more of a generalized audience as well, not so like niche specific, but you're going to make more business from that niche rather than going generalized.
100%. Yeah. And I mean, I don't need to tell you this, know this, but it's consistency. Mm-hmm. And it's something to think about too, especially is your consistency becomes your audience's habit.
Good point.
And that's something that most people don't think about in social. So the fact that is I show up every day at 8 a.m. And if I'm going to do an extra at 1 p.m. And they know. Yeah. I'm very deeply connected with my community, my audience. They know that I'm consistent every single day. And the way I learned this was one of my podcasts. I had a community member reach out. It's like a couple years ago, and she's like, "Hey, is everything okay?" She's like, DM me. I didn't know her at the time. I'm like,
sure.
What do you mean? She's like, well, there's no podcast this morning. I do my morning run, and there was no podcast. And she wasn't upset, but she was like, this threw her day off.
But that kind of showed you like, and I was like, people are like expecting this.
Yeah. I was like, I love that. I was like, well, there's a technical error. It's going to be up shortly. She's like, I'll have to listen to it this evening. And I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
Thank you. This was incredible. And so your consistency becomes their habits. Like you're their news for the day, or you're their value add. Yeah. Something that they're constantly orbiting your world and learning from you for that's applicable to their life.
It's so true. It's like if somebody is like a big news watcher, they watch CNN or Fox News, and like every night at 7 p.m. it's this show, and then all of a sudden they tune in and the show's not there. They're like, what the heck happened? What's wrong? It's the same thing. I just don't think we think about it because it's not on the TV.
Right. And it's so because it's very habitual, you're also bringing stability to them. Right? Steadiness, stability. Like I know what to expect from this person.
Yeah.
I know when to expect it or thereabouts. And he or she's constantly providing value.
Yeah. Which
so,
shows that you're trustworthy and you're more of an expert and you're more of an authority. Right. Because typically people that are an authority or an expert are always consistent.
Yeah.
People who are not consistent, in most cases are not really an expert or an authority.
Right.
In a perfect world. Okay, so I was watching one of your reels. If your niche is, you talk about your niche is you.
Right.
Are you building a brand that reflects who you truly are, or one that simply fits what people think?
Who you really are.
Yeah.
Always.
Tell us about that. Everybody watching here, listening to me right now, they're selling something. They're a salesperson. They're a sales manager. They could be a VP of sales, CEO of a company, an entrepreneur, coach, consultant, whatever. Or they could be a mom that wants to influence their kids to do their homework, right? So why is that so important?
Do you love what you do?
Yeah.
You have I appreciated Kobe Bryant when he was alive. I didn't appreciate him the way I do now.
Yeah.
I love what I do so much. And when you love what you do, you show up differently. You create differently. You don't want to be out of the game. You're constantly trying to mold and shape it. And you're like under the hood of the car trying to understand it.
Yeah.
So anybody you come into contact with, you know how to help them in any number of ways because you're so dialed into the game of you, into the game of what you're playing and your interests. And so, but when we're trying to shape it to other people, we're constantly thinking in the external. I'm going to automatically know what you need from me being in the game. But if I'm constantly just trying to play your game and not mine, it's never going to be the same. I'm never going to have that same intuition, that same like kind of desire that might be happening as much as if I'm loving what I'm doing.
You're committed to mastery.
Yeah.
Right.
There you
like
go.
Kobe Bryant committed to mastery.
You couldn't even take him out of the game when he had when he broke his Achilles. He's like, you're not taking me out.
He loves it.
Yeah. He loves it.
Yeah. And that's, you said something that's really, really important that I think a lot of people don't think about. Anybody, when I hear somebody that says, I want to be the next this person, automatically tells me that they're never going to get to where they want.
Yeah, they're chasing.
And it's because like Kobe Bryant never said, I want to be the next Michael Jordan, from what I understand. He's just like, I want to be Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
Like, I am Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
You know, like this is who I'm going to be. So I hear a lot of people like, I want to be the next Tony Robbins. I want to be the next this guy. I want to be this lady boss or whatever. I'm like, it just tells me like you're never really going to get there because you're trying to be them. You're not understanding that you have special abilities and talents, and you're very unique. All of us are unique.
Right.
You know, nobody that's ever been born on this planet in the past or now or in the future is the same, which is crazy. We are all unique and different, even twins, which is incredible to me, how that works.
Hey guys, Jeremy Miner here. A lot of you guys keep asking me really good questions in the comments on how to sell more. So the easiest way to actually get a hold of me is to actually text me way faster. So 480-418-6755. So text me at 480-418-6755, because here's the deal. I started this sales training company to help you finally master sales and persuasion once and for all, which is I know what you want to do. So text me and then let's get back to the show.
So you got to start looking at like, hey, you're unique, and if you don't have the talents yet, go out and develop the talents, learn the talents like a Kobe Bryant did, or an Elon Musk, or anybody you look at as like as a role model, you know?
Thank you for that. It's so true. There's 2 points that remind me of. One is, I say it on my account, like the niche is you. I'm just reminding you, because I don't want you to be like me or anybody else. I need you to figure out who you are. Because most of what we're all looking for to solve it has to come from ourselves.
Yeah.
And, so I see that often with people. Yeah, that's the thing when they're like, I want to be the next. I'm like, no, I need you to be the next you. And like, well, I don't know who I am. I'm like, then you need to start.
That's a problem.
And that's okay. It happens with all of us, but you definitely need to start. You need to, start figuring out who that is. And what it also raised for me when you just said, which is so good, which is like, even when, the societal structure was, here's the exact blueprint of how you should do things.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, even if we have the same domain of expertise, our delivery is still going to be uniquely to our own.
Yeah.
We have to promote that individuality, because like there's a way that my gifts are going to allow me to play the game of basketball different than, so-and-so and so-and-so.
Yeah. Well, who's the one that decides what the domain
exactly
of life is? And that always changes. Like every generation, it always starts to change and shift, and somebody makes the new rules.
Yeah. I know. I fought that a lot I've always been self-employed.
Yeah.
And or a consultant. And it was always interesting when I was dealing with like bigger businesses, because, well, this is the way it's always been done. I'm like, yet you hired me.
Yeah.
So like, I understand, but maybe change is something that's needed.
Yeah.
And like, we have to constantly keep adapting and looking at it, but also from a unique perspective, not what everybody else is doing.
Yeah. That's a huge fear, right? That people fear the fear of change, because they're basically, they know that they might not like it. They might feel uncomfortable with where they're at, but because it's more just the way our brains work, because it's more familiar to you, you will stay with that over changing to something that's unknown or unfamiliar with you. It's just like, I always say, like when I'm doing a keynote training or something on it, so like, how many, raise your hand who in here knows that, everybody knows the person that when you talk to them, they always complain about the relationship, the family member, the aunt, the uncle, the coworker, they're always complaining about their spouse, their girlfriend, boyfriend, all the time. But you sit there and wonder, like, well, if they don't like it, why don't they get out of the relationship? It's because they're human and they're afraid of change. They're afraid of the unknown. Even they don't like it, it's more familiar to them than the unknown is.
People like predictability, and I understand it. But you can also make change and uncertainty in your favor, because that's also predictable. Like I would say, like the best thing with change too is like when people are the same over and over and over again. And people are like, that person did the same thing again. I'm like, yeah. And they're like, what do you mean? Yeah. I'm like, well, if people become predictable, don't expect something else from them. In fact, allow them to be exactly who they are.
Yeah.
But you have to make a change. You have to make a different choice. You have to make a different decision. And then you'll be less surprised and take it less personal.
Yeah.
Humans will be humans is what I always say.
You got to recognize patterns.
Yeah.
It's all about pattern recognition. You know, if I see patterns in somebody, same thing over and over, I'm recognizing, okay, this is a pattern. This is what they're doing. I can either, accept that pattern, or maybe I don't want that pattern and I need to maybe reframe them out of that pattern to new patterns,
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're always, it is true about that quote about, we're always one decision away. Right. And
so good.
I think it's actually very comforting to know at any given time, no matter how far off you've gone in the wrong direction, one turn to the right, one new decision,
Right.
and that wipes it all out. And I think that should be very comforting to anybody who's like, I think I'm stuck in in a rut or in a stagnant place. I'm like, that's okay.
Yeah.
Just make one drastically different decision.
Who has the power to change that?
Right.
Only you. You have to make the decision, 100%. How do you keep your, I think this is an important question. A lot of people have asked us as well. How do you keep your brand evolving without losing the core of like who you are? How do you keep it evolving? Do people get bored of the same thing? How do you keep evolving the brand?
So there's two sides of that.
Because people get used to that. They get used to the same thing, the pattern. They get bored.
Listen, I have friends who, as big as I've gotten online, they've gotten way bigger, and they've gotten sometimes burnt out. And then it's the algorithm they bring up, like, oh, well, the algorithm changed, I'm out. I was like, well, you're about 2 million deep,
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I may take a sabbatical, or I might do this. And I was like, listen, you can't look at it's. First of all, machine learning is not. It's not trying to trip you up. What's happening is there are people evolving in their craft and finding new ways to really deliver on their thing. What's happening is machine learning is going, I really like, there's a lot of attention over there. And it's like, yeah, they're evolving. And so I look at it as just like in life, just like in your craft, just like online, which is all the same. You want to always be in the mastery of your work. You always want to be like, how do I push the boundaries of my own greatness, my own work? I like my work so much that I always want to keep seeing new ways to deliver it that honor it, not perform.
Well, I think every person in life who's at the very top does exactly what you say. They're evolving all the time.
Always.
Otherwise, you never stay at the top.
Just getting started.
Every
that's the mentality.
every athlete, every singer, every CEO, even every like great relationship evolves because you constantly learn, or you die, right? Or like every great mom and dad, like you're always, it's like anybody that's great at anything, if you're a Navy SEAL, whatever it is, you're always evolving. And if you're not evolving to improve, you're going the wrong way, as they say.
I call it devotion.
Yeah, I love that.
I was asked a lot because I love discipline. What changed for me about discipline is when I started looking at it as devotion. Discipline, sometimes we can burn out if we're doing it for the wrong reasons or the wrong things. It's devotion when we know exactly why we're doing it and it means something so deep in our core, whether it's for our, the kingdom or our family, our profession, our work, our gifts. We love it so much that I have to respect showing up so deeply to honor and understand it and evolve it and grow it. Yeah, you're never gonna quit.
Yeah,
I'll do it till I pass.
Till you pass.
That's it.
That's what the greats do, and I believe that builds a lot of trust, because I see a lot of people in, I don't want to call it the influencer space or whatever that means, or brands, and they're constantly changing what they do. Like 1 minute they're like an expert on dating and there's suddenly these dating courses, and then 2 years later now they're like, they post this thing like, I just wanted to be vulnerable in front of everybody, and I just never really, I just got to a point where it's burnout, I don't like it, and I need to switch to what I really love, and that's crypto trading. And now they're like crypto trading, and they sell this for a year or two, and then a year after that they're like, now I'm going to teach marketing and stuff like this. And it's like they're always something different every 2-3 years, and I think it really confuses the market, because they're like, we don't know who that person is.
Right.
But if I think of Tony Robbins, what would I think Tony Robbins is? I know what he is.
Right.
The greats. What is Tom Brady? Tom Brady is what he is. Yeah. Like, what is anybody great that you follow? Like, what they are. Yeah. Because they're consistent and they're devoted.
That's what it is.
And that devotion is much better than discipline, because discipline, like I see people like, I seek a discipline like in the military. You're disciplined. You got to get up every day. You got to do this, but you're doing it because people are forcing you. But devotion is where you're making the decision yourself. Nobody's forcing you to get up and do a YouTube video. Nobody's forcing you to do a huge training call. Like, nobody's forcing you to do any of those things. You have to be devoted to it.
Which is why you have to be tied to it, to your soul, at a soul level. And I think what happens is you see a lot of those folks that you're describing, like online, where they're looking outside of them at maybe other people who are doing very well in those areas. And I get it. It makes sense. You're trying to find yourself, but you're constantly seeking external. to your point earlier, you're always going to be chasing. If you're trying to be the next person, you're trying to be the next thing, you're still looking outside. And it may resonate to a degree. I think what they're doing is maybe those people are inspiring you, but internally you have to figure out, like, what is a long-term vision? Like, what does your life really look like for you? And then how are you actually allowing yourself to evolve? You know, because we are all evolving in real time. I mean, there are people who, they've been following my account for years. And from my previous account that I had that was bigger as well. And then they're like, man, like the message has really evolved, but it's always been you. Yeah. And that's to your point right there, where they're like, I like to see where this thing is going to go. They're like, I'm devoted for life.
It doesn't mean you can't evolve.
Yeah.
Like when you're switching who you are, like, I mean, you know, people would know you as like the guy that helps with branding and social media and all those type of things. Like if you switch tomorrow and you're like, now I'm doing, you know, I'm an expert in Forex trading. Right. You might be like, what? Huh? What's going on? Or whatever it is. Yeah. Because something completely different, like, huh? It just throws people off. Yeah. Then I find the ones that, like, you know, my buddy, like Russell Brunson, if you think about Russell Brunson, what would you think? Probably marketing. Yeah. And like one of the best marketers of all time. But if he was like switching every other year to like doing this, doing that, you'd be a little bit confused. Yeah. You know, and it would lose credibility.
It was an interesting thing too, because a couple people that are inside of my like online community, they know the more depth of like, oh wow, like, you know, marketing and branding, and I mean, and they get that because I've done it for my own brand. Yeah. But the conversation at the macro level has nothing to do with the marketing and the branding and all those things. But it is actually very much an important factor of, you need clarity before you build. You need to really have this deepening relationship with yourself, and I want you to have that. And then we can go further in the middle of the funnel, if you will.
In the middle of the funnel,
right? Yeah.
So what would you say? Like one of my is a client of ours, friend of mine named Brandon Kane. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's wrote a couple great New York Times bestsellers. One of them is Hook Point: How to Stand Out in a 3-Second World. Right. But he talks a lot about what you do, about, you know, people's attention spans are like really, really short. So how do you, like, one, hook them in their attention span, but more importantly, once you've done that, because I don't think that's very hard. Right. I think the harder part is, how do I keep them loyal and engaged year after year after year? How do you keep them engaged for the next 5 years?
You need a hook and you need depth.
How do you do that?
You know, and it's interesting because I was literally just having this conversation in a group about my writing got better because I was looking at how some people, you know, we were talking about like the Hermosis of the world, where he was talking, you know, he's not wrong about the hook, you know, and they were saying, yeah, but you know, but you're a writer as well. And I said, yeah, but there's so much art in what he's talking about to place it into my writing. Because the fact of the matter is that the attention span of people is so low that how do I get you to stop the scroll and make sure it is worth every bit of your time in that moment? And so even in my writing, at the macro level, you know, it's bite-sized enough to be like, that. Yeah. Thank you for relating to me. What else you got? And then that brings them into your world. And then, you know, the next layer for me is like in the caption, where I'm like, let's talk about this real quick. Short enough to, you know, consume, long enough that I could get you to pause in a world that is chaotic and constantly just scrolling and constantly, like, you know, going all over the place.
Well, your content has to be good.
Your content has to be good.
And I think that's the problem, because a lot of people have been sold this thing like, hey, you've got some knowledge, go out there and make a course, and people need your knowledge. But a lot of those people are novices. Like, they don't have enough experience. What is the saying? You have to have at least 10,000 hours of high-level experience to be an expert. I think it's more like 20 or 30,000
I was going to say, I'm well beyond that 20
at this point. I'm like 40,000 hours into this thing. Like, and I'll keep going 100,000 hours. Yeah. But so many people, like, they just want to get rich quick or whatever. And a lot of the younger generation, that's fine, totally fine. But they don't have the wisdom, the experience. You know, I heard Tony Robbins say this. I'm in this like a Zenith Master, my group's like 30 of us, and it's really cool. But he's like, you know, people can steal your training, they can steal your thoughts, they can steal your content, but they can never steal your wisdom and your experience within that training and content, because it's in your brain. Yeah. So they're only going to understand it at a very surface level, meaning maybe 10% of what you understand it, because you're the one that experienced it and you have the wisdom of building it. They didn't. And so they'll never understand it, but at a surface level.
You add in soul to that as the third component. And I'll say, so now what you're watching with a lot of creators who are young, who are crushing it online, they're creators. Notice I didn't say marketers, they're creators. What are they doing? Hey, this is what I'm building. This is the product. This is the art. This is the medium that I'm using. Here's how I'm doing it. And they crush. And so they visually show it, and then they talk about it. And they say, oh, by the way, if you need, here's some extra tools that might help you. So they're basically, their followers are their investors.
Okay.
They're actually like really and I mean, some of these, you know, I mean, I could pick out a handful of them, people you've never heard of, who are like 400,000 or 500,000. Their drops of their clothing and art gone 100,000 in like 2 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, and they're young, but what's happening is they're trusted because they're saying, hey, this wasn't my background, but it resonates with me. I know why I'm doing it. Come with me while I do this with you guys. I'll show you. And I mean, the amount of work that they put in is insane though. And see, that goes back to that Kobe Bryant level work.
A lot of people don't know that. They just see the video and think it's easy. It's like, oh, I want to do that. But when they get involved, it's like, there's a lot that goes into that.
Right. And what's the underlying thing is, I may not have the experience, but I'm going to show getting it, but it is tied to my soul and why I'm doing it. And this resonates with me. And so people can feel it. It goes right back to your whole point about authenticity.
Yeah.
And so I think that it's okay for the younger folk that maybe don't have the wisdom and experience yet, but are so authentic in acquiring it publicly, the build in public movement, forget it. Like those, I mean, when you see some of the things that these people are taking down, you know, it's just incredible, you know, because of trust.
So it's all trust. Yeah, it's all trust. It's emotional connection. It's trust. People buy from people who they trust. Can get them the best results.
I know you'll take care of me.
Not necessarily just because they like you. Liking you is kind of a secondary thing. Trust is number one.
Yeah.
If they trust you're going to give them the best result, they're always going to buy from you over anybody else, even if you charge more. 100%. It's all about the end result. Okay, so how can entrepreneurs resist the pull of what's hot right now and instead focus on what's authentic? You talk a lot about that. So I want to bring up, I think this is a really important question for every person to know, you know, salesperson as well, because this is important for you watching this, because had I known what I know now when I started my sales training company, when I was a W-2 rep or a 1099 rep, like working for other companies, had I known what I know now, I would have definitely built a brand back then and even sold even more than I did, because I could have generated my own leads and those type of things. So why is that so important to resist what's hot now instead of focus on being authentic?
Well, because being authentic has the longevity and what's hot now has a very short attention span. That's probably the shortest answer I give on that.
That's really valid. That's valid, yeah.
Right? Because what's hot right now, you're not differentiating. But if you're constantly, I'll tell you a great example. I was working for Krug Champagne.
So true. Yeah.
And which is a very expensive champagne. I knew nothing about champagne. I was just a digital guy. And I'm sitting there with Olivier Krug, the great grandson of Joseph Krug, and it's in Champagne, France.
Yeah.
Random when you consult.
I don't know anything about alcohol, but I've actually heard about Krug Champagne. And I don't even drink,
I knew nothing about it then either. So it was funny to, you know, your job sometimes takes you to different places. And something that he said that I loved, and he said, don't pay attention to industry and don't pay attention to competition.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is going to be good. It's like, you're Olivier Krug, like, tell me, you know.
Yeah.
And he goes, industry will always be there doing it their way, but you're here to serve your people.
Yeah.
Competition, people always have somebody else that they can choose in your domain. Make sure that when they're with you, they feel the best. They know how they feel when they're with you.
Yeah.
He's like, Matt, he's like, there's so much noise always going on. He's like, but the love of your work and the people you love on for doing it for them, that will always keep you out of the noise, out of the trends, out of the, you know, the ongoing chaos, and always at craftsman level work. And they'll follow you forever.
Yeah.
It's like, that's building a brand. That's building community.
Yeah.
Basically, and I'm like, that's solid advice. You know,
that's
it's
really
like,
solid advice,
you know, 14 years ago, and it's stuck with me ever since. And so I think that, when you get stuck in these trends, then what are you going to do when it changes in 2 months? You know, where's the longevity of that? And then how does that also affect the people you serve?
Yeah.
I want timeless, classic. I want the ability for anybody that extracts value from me to be lifetime.
Yeah, because if you're just following what everybody else is doing,
Yeah.
your audience or your clients, they just kind of view you like everybody else.
Yeah.
And so you don't really stand out.
Exactly.
I think that's a lot of what people don't really think about, is that you look like you're following the trends rather than you making the trend.
Right. Exactly.
That's a different thing. If you're the one making the trend, you're viewed as the expert, the authority. If you're following the trend, you're looked at as like just another follower.
And the only way you can make the trend is if you're Kobe, 3 a.m. on the court, 10 p.m. on the court, watching all the tape. You know, I saw a video the other day. I didn't know this about him, that when he was in high school, his girlfriend would go to his house on Friday nights. They were watching tapes on Michael Jordan and others, because he was just learning their level of play.
Yeah.
That was their Friday night date.
Yeah.
Was watching the game.
And that's important. You want to master something.
Yeah.
You want to learn from the very best.
Right.
Because that's mastery.
Right. Because you want to play it so well. And that's how you'll contribute to the very domain expertise that you're wanting to help others. I mean, that's what you've done with your entire company.
Sure.
Is you wanted to show a different way, a different approach.
Sure.
And that's why people trust you.
Yeah. Yeah. You're setting the trend. You're 100% right. How has building in public helped and hurt your growth?
Oh, well, you know, it depends. I think that you could be building something, but running, I've watched a couple of people where they're running into walls with some of the stuff that they're trying to do. And so their own stalling of maybe what they're trying to get to market can obviously maybe hurt a little bit of that growth. But the cool thing is your following is so respectful of that. They're like, oh, we got you. In fact, they're almost encouraging, like, keep going. Like, there's a couple of guys I know online that do that. They went in more from the marketing into the product side.
Okay.
And watching their following say, we got you, just like let us know when it drops. And so their wait lists are actually growing, even though they are having stagnation in figuring out the product.
Right.
I mean, this is phenomenal. This is what I'm saying. The rules of sales are like changing. They're like, where do we sign up? How do we support? Is there like a, can we pre-sale? Can we pre-buy?
Yeah, they're triggering curiosity really well.
Right.
They're keeping them hooked. They're triggering curiosity, engagement. It's like a mystery type of thing.
What do you know? Transparency is the greatest asset of all time.
Exactly, 100%. I think one of the greatest ways to keep an audience engaged is to keep them on their toes, that you're kind of like a mystery in a sense. Like they can't read you 100%. Because I feel like if somebody can read you 100%, sometimes they get bored. So when you're kind of come across as somewhat mysterious sometimes here and there, psychologically, the way our brain works is like, we want to know the end of the story. We want to figure it out so we stay engaged. Just like when you're dating, right? It's the same concept, right? If you're coming up and talking to like a beautiful woman or something, and you just say the same things that any guy would say, you don't stand out. You sound different. You sound the same as everybody else. But when you come across different, like you're a mystery, like you don't really care. Like when my girlfriend asked me, what I did for a living, I was like, oh, you'd probably get bored. Like I'd probably bore you to death. Like, what do you do? And then she tells me, she's like, no, really, what do you do? Like, I'm just triggering engagement. I'm triggering like mystery there.
And I think you bring up such an important, valid point too, because, especially for everybody listening, that it's like, it's also, speaking as a man, like very leading masculine is like, listen, I'd rather hold space for you to come into versus me like constantly like everybody else. I'm in the mastery of myself. I love leading myself. And in doing so, that makes a space safe for you to feel that you can do the same in my world. And now we're exchanging in each other's worlds versus like, if I'm like everybody else, how are we going to even have a unique connection to begin with? And part of the safety on their side is like, oh, wow, like he's really in tune with who he is. So he's not trying to need something from me.
Yeah, because experts don't need that. It's the same true in sales. Like when a salesperson, like, hey, I'm busy, can you call me back later this week? Yeah, sure. When can I call you? You just lowered your status because now you're like chasing them. You're just viewed like everybody else.
It's the chase. You cannot chase.
You cannot chase.
You cannot chase.
So instead,
anything.
Why not reframe that? Like, hey, call me next month. I'm not quite sure I'd be available then. If you have your calendar handy, I can pull up mine and have you book a specific time. That way you don't have to chase me down and vice versa. Would that help you?
Right.
So I'm just reframing, and they're like, whoa, okay, well, this person's busy. Like they don't need me. Like they're not waiting by the phone. They must be good at what they must be an expert. They must be able to solve problems. So it's how people view you.
The best thing about what you just said, the reframe is it's honest.
True. Yes.
It's on.
I'm not
right. It's honest.
willing. I don't have time to do that.
Right.
Like I'm an expert.
And the reason you don't have time is because you are very mission driven. Here's what I'm trying to do and build and better in myself. And it's something that I got, it took me, I got it, I think when I was younger, but as I got older, I started to realize why they say like, you need a mission. You need, and really the mission is you.
Yeah.
But once I started to really understand that, it's because you look at everything different. How am I using my time? Who am I spending it with? What does my calendar look like? What do my days look like? That autonomy forces you to have to make decisions and also interact with others in a very respectful, honest manner. With discernment is like a natural filter now. Like it's a natural byproduct.
Yeah, 100%. You got to stand out. All right, so rapid fire questions for you.
Yeah.
What's one of your favorite books of all time?
Oof.
I never ask somebody, what's your one favorite book? Because I'm like, I read a lot of books. What's one of your favorite books of all time?
There's a lot, but I'll say that something I just keep going back to over and over again. There's two. Essentialism by Greg McKeown.
Okay. What's it about? I haven't read that book.
I love, essentialism, 90% of the things that are occupying your time and space are full of shit.
They don't really get you.
Literally, that's what he says.
They don't really move you forward.
And he says less, but better.
Okay. Yeah.
When we actually focus on the 10% that really matters and we do it so lovingly well, everything 10x's because you're focused on the right things, not everything.
Yeah. Horse blinders.
Yeah. That's my favorite. Horse blinders.
Yeah. I see a lot of people. They're like, well, I've got this business and I'm doing this and I'm also doing this and I'm also doing that. I'm like,
right.
You're never going to be at the top because you're distracted. You're an expert of nothing, right? You're good at a lot of little things, but you're an expert in nothing.
Yeah.
We're a sales training company. Like we get people come with us opportunities all the time. Hey, let's do this. Let's do that. I'm like, no. I got the horse blinders on. That's why we've gotten so big.
Yeah.
Because I don't take my foot off the gas. I'm just going this way, horse blinders.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do something like, I'm going to go sell crypto now or something trading. And we're a sales training company. It wouldn't make any sense,
Real quick to your exact point.
Yeah.
And I was just talking about this and it's so funny because like when you do that and everybody's looking for predictability. Great. That's predictability. I know what I'm doing. And I had somebody ask me this guy, I was on a live on Instagram and he goes, but how do you know where you're going? I'm like, because I'm preparing for it. He's like, no, but how do you know where you're going? I'm like, because I'm preparing for it. We were having two different conversations. He's like, how do you know? And I'm like, because I'm playing for it. It's like, I'm this beeline focus on it. So I know where it's going because my consistency is the predictability of what's going to come.
I have plan A. I don't do plan Bs.
Right.
Like when I decide I'm going to do something, it's plan A. I don't have a plan B.
Yeah.
I don't even
like
think
this
that
is
way.
happening.
You have a plan B or plan C. You're never accomplishing plan A. I can tell you that 100% of the time.
100%.
Well, okay. What's one of the best, and that's actually some really good advice leading up to this issue. What's one of the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Oof.
Besides that one.
I was going to say that's it's a really great question.
Just in anything.
Yeah.
One of the best piece of advice you've ever heard.
My father, may he rest in peace, told me when I was really young, he was like, son, never fear making a decision, ever.
Yeah.
He's like, you're never going to lose making a decision. Some will work out really well for you. Some not as well, but you'll always know what to do next.
You can learn from those.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, and I hated that when I was really young. He was a quintessential entrepreneur and a lawyer. And he's such an independent thinker.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget the first time that ever happened. I was 5 years old. I'm standing at a toy store. I have two toys in my hand. He's like, pick one. I'm like, I can. He's like, son, you have to learn to pick. You have to make a decision. I'm like, I'm 5. I literally said that to him. Like, I was such a negotiator, like talking to him. I actually can see it was like FAO Schwartz in New York.
It's like one of your first memories.
And I remember, it's the funniest thing that I can remember, but it just goes to show you, start young, right? Yeah. And he was like, son, you will always have to make a decision. And he's like, I want you to always make a decision. He's like, and you'll adjust as you get older. But later on, we talked about that. And he was like, always make a decision. You'll never lose. Yeah. You'll just always know what to do next. And I'm like, wow, and I mean, there's been so much sage advice over the years from him and many others that were just like, saved me.
I find that most, not a straitjacket interpretation, but the top of the top make decisions quickly and they change your minds slowly.
Yes.
Unsuccessful make decisions slowly and they change your minds quickly.
Yeah.
I've noticed that is a pattern.
Clarity is a superpower, 100%. My friend.
Okay, leading into clarity, what's one daily non-negotiable for your mental clarity?
God.
Okay, expand on that.
Every single morning, I put my relationship with God first.
Okay.
And it's not to say from a religious one, if you will, but I do sit and I pray.
Okay.
And I pray with humility, not with me guiding the boat.
So you're authentic in your prayers.
Yes, it's
rather
very.
Than just saying
yeah.
the prayer to say the prayer.
We all could use a lot more humility. Let me tell you.
I've done that before. Just praying to pray, and it's like I'm just saying the same thing every day.
Well, and so it's never exactly. It's never the same thing, which forces me to tap in what's going on here and now.
Mm-hmm.
Second, it's funny how we try to guide God like as if God doesn't know what's the desire in our heart that was placed there. It's like, like, please have it go like this. And I can almost hear like God's voice be like, it's way bigger. Would you like that instead? Yeah. I'm just curious. Or do you want this that you're asking for? And by the way, like this is a lot more chaotic. This is much smoother. Would you like that?
Yeah.
And I've talked about that before on my podcast. And people are like, I like the way you humanize. I'm like, but it's kind of like that. We're so stubborn as humans and we get in our way. So the humility, I also say, is a superpower because it actually brings you back into like, you know what, God, like, what do I actually really need?
Because I think you have to focus when you pray. Like you actually, you feel it.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the connection to God comes from. Because when you're just praying to pray, like just to get it out of the way before you go to sleep,
right?
I don't feel like there's any connection.
So the greatest relationship you have will also, I found that my relationship with God, and if I'm not just trying to, pray just to pray, are you going to do that with your spouse?
It's like, check it off the to-do list.
Yeah. I would never want my spouse, my future spouse to, feel like I'm checking off a list.
Yeah.
She should always feel I'm present. Period.
So true. Okay, what part of yourself did you have to kill to evolve? What'd you have to kill so you could evolve? Like, can't do that anymore, so I can get to this next level. Everybody has something.
I definitely think it's related a lot to what we were just talking about with God, which was trying to kind of guide the outcome, that control issue. I was never controlling of other people, always just me. I was very hard on me and always trying to be like, here's how we're going to make it happen. And when you're driven, especially as a man, that can be hard because we want to execute, we want to make it happen.
Yeah.
But am I executing the right things? So I had to start embracing humility and surrender a lot more to God in terms of like, am I doing the right things?
Okay.
I don't mind showing up.
So you humbled yourself.
Yeah. So I had to humble myself very much and just really learn to emotionally regulate and drop the ego.
I think that's the biggest killer. Dream snatcher is our egos.
Oh yeah.
Thinking that we know everything.
Yeah.
And we cannot learn to get to the next level. That we already know everything. Right. Ego kills more dreams than anything.
Yeah. What was it? Aristotle or Socrates? The more I know, the more I don't know.
That's exactly what it is. I'm learning. I'm like learning a machine.
Humbled.
I'm learning a machine. What's one mistake most new entrepreneurs make?
Probably spreading themselves too thin in terms of like you said, trying to pick too many lanes and not just picking one.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, that's probably the biggest one. And then also maybe not really knowing why they want to do the thing that they want to do.
Yeah.
And doing it because it's like somebody else's validation or to try to prove themselves.
I think that's true with anything, especially salespeople.
Yeah.
Big mistake salespeople make is they don't focus on income producing activities. They just kind of show up and do things and they think they work 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
But really, you actually were talking to prospects 4.
Yeah.
What were you doing the other 8?
Yeah.
Checking your emails 10 times, being on Facebook, looking at people posting cat pictures, what we're eating to our lunches. You weren't really working 12 hours. Right. You were just kind of there 12 hours, Yeah. I think a lot of entrepreneurs do that too.
Yeah. It's like, do you really want to be an entrepreneur? I would say, I mean, working for yourself is the greatest freedom, but it's also the greatest responsibility and accountability and discipline you will ever have. Better be for the thing you want.
What's one thing people obsess over in business that actually does not matter at all?
Oh, perfectionism. They're constantly listen, it's never perfect. Ship it. Now, if you're transparent and honest, your audience will love you for it. I literally, everything I build now, I build with my communities. And I even tell them listen, I want to do this. However, I'm trying to figure out the time and the deployment of this, and like, yeah, we just trust you. Go ahead. I'm like, cool. And then I'll iterate along the way. But I think
it's trust.
Yeah.
If it's not perfect.
Yeah.
But if you act like it's perfect and it's not,
you're screwed.
then you lost the trust.
Yeah. Mistakes are fine.
So true.
People actually relate to in being imperfect. We all are. So naturally, and that's something I found in the big corporate world when I was consulting, was like they were so concerned with perfectionism that they were being like slowed down all the time. Now they're screwed because I mean, creators are just eating them for lunch.
100%. If there's one shift you want everyone listening, watching to make after hearing what we talked about, what would that one shift be?
Trust themselves more.
I like that.
We have to stop looking externally. We have to stop looking to, like you were saying, like to be the next this or next that. And we actually know what we need to do next, but building that relationship with, so we talk about trust with the audience, you got to start trusting yourself. And that's also what people are going to feel. And that is a practice. That is a daily practice, because we don't just all of a sudden wake up and we're like, I trust myself implicitly.
Yeah.
That takes time. And we know what we need to do. We do.
Yeah.
But we're not taking time to actually sit with ourselves and actually listen, ask and listen, you know?
I think a lot of people don't trust themselves because they don't do what people do who are actually trustworthy.
That's exactly it. When consistency isn't about perfection.
Yeah.
Actually, it's the opposite. It's just that you're doing the work so much that you feel so tied to it that you begin to understand a new level of yourself.
Yeah, that's so true.
And that's it.
100%.
You know?
Okay, where can people learn more about you, what you do? Like, can we send them somewhere, website, social media? Where should they go?
Yeah, mattgottesman.substack.com is where all the writing and community work is happening.
All the cool stuff is?
All the cool stuff, all the creative stuff is happening. mattgottesman.com for all the others. And then, at Matt Gottesman on Instagram, we'll lead them to everything. And then the Niches You podcast. And those are some good
awesome.
starts.
It's great having you on. I didn't realize you were 10 minutes down the road in Scottsdale from our offices, man. You got to come by more, man. You got to come by more.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
100%, man. It was an amazing conversation. Start trusting yourself and follow through, because you start following through. If you start following through in your life as a salesperson, business owner, entrepreneur, whoever you are, if you just start following through and doing the daily things it takes and being consistent, like Matt's talking, and be actually devoted, it's really, and you learn skills, you got to have skills in there. It's pretty much almost impossible to fail at that point. Like, you really have to try to fail, if that makes sense. So do that. Make sure you start following Matt. We'll put Matt's Instagram handles and other things in there, and his website. Make sure you start following through, and we'll see you on the next episode.